what's here to do? We're back here with Ace Attorney Dual Destinies, where we have just put in our first contradiction for this trial. The tension is so high. Anxiety Central over here. But before we get back into Anxiety Central, just a few thoughts. Number one, so a few episodes ago in Tears of the Kingdom, I revealed my new microphone. Oh yeah. You hear how different it is. After having recorded a few videos with it, I'm not convinced I want to keep it for the time being. It's because the thing is, I think it's higher quality than my old mic, which I still have, on the broad strokes, but it's because my room is not presently sound treated, and this one's a bit more sensitive. You can hear the reverb in the back rest of the room a bit more, whereas the other one's a bit more directional and only captures in front. So even though it doesn't get the deep, bassy tones of my voice as much as this one does, you hear a lot of reverb in it, in this one, which you don't in that one. Or such is my feeling. Anyway, I gotta think about it a bit more. I could always pull some workarounds if I'm worried about it doing that weird buzzing thing again. I could always have my recording program feed it back into my ears as quietly, so that if it starts to do the buzzy, I'll hear it like instantly, and then I can just fix it mid-recording. There's a thought, huh? But anyway, some actually more relevant to Dual Destinies notes. I have, just no pencil. First of all, I've been told that depending on how you screw this up, if you screw this up, there are multiple bad endings here. And I've been like dreading getting back to it now, because I'm like, alright, I haven't lost any health yet, but like, I cannot let Trucy or Athena or anyone die. It will hurt my psyche, so my black psyche locks will be ripped off if that happens, and I will be traumatized for life. But my notes were that I have still no idea who the real killer was. At this point, it's like they have not introduced us any major characters who seem suspicious. So either it's some crazy twist like Metis accidentally offed herself and then the robots 7 years later also stabbed Terran, and no one's the killer, or something like that. Or I don't know what my other option was. What I wrote here was that Terran, Yuri, Aura, Simon, Starbuck all seem unlikely as the killer. Metis somehow? Was she a government agent or something, and then she staged her own death, and then she's back now? But at that case, why would she kill Terran and then leave the samples to be blown up in court? And in fact, why would anyone, if they were actually a government agent, leave the samples after all that? You'd think that was what they were there for. Did they intentionally want them blown up in court? So many questions. I mean, maybe it's Aura and she's got some psyche locks on her as well, that like the black ones, where she doesn't even know she's hiding that she was the original killer or something. Like maybe she did it by accident and now she's repressed the hell out of it and just assumes it was someone else. That would be a really sad way for this to go, but maybe it's true. And then the last thought I had was they they mentioned the robots being able to detect a person's pulse, like their heartbeat, if they're in like the same vicinity. So even if Athena were unconscious, if the killer had a robot, they would easily know she was there to go get her fingerprints and plant them on the robot. And that's just something to think about, because she did say she collapsed like behind the secret passage of the rocket, so it seems like she would be undetectable unless someone was very familiar with the area or had a robot that detected heartbeats. In other words, this robot arm could belong to none other than PONcoooooo. That was the last thing we proved, is that was removed from the scene, probably, according to the pictures. Order in the court! Order, I say! Prosecutor Edgeworth, what do you have to say to this? By the way, there better not be any double, triple, or quadruple, or infinite penalties going on in this case, because it's not an official trial, okay? So neither the judge nor Edgeworth would have any incentive, and I swear to God, I can see that the robot is about the same size as a child. I disagree with that. I would say it's a bit bigger. It cannot grab its knees and curl itself up into a ball. Even if it was the largest of the cases, the robot couldn't have possibly fit in there. It was disassembled. Did you not just see the arm lying by itself? The case does come up to about mid-thigh on Prosecutor Blackwell. No, I see your point. But the robot is much taller than that. You got me there. So then, did Prosecutor Blackwell make PONcoooooo fit into the case by dismantling her? The robot was in pieces. Of course PONcoooooo would fit. All Prosecutor Blackwell had to do was dismantle her. Once taken apart, the robot could have easily fit inside that rolling case. It appears to be a robot assembly device.
Disassemble anything in a flash. Push the dismantle button. That sounds pretty neat. Can I push it, Mr. Dick?
I hadn't even remember that bit, but yeah, dismantle the robot. Easy. It's not like it folds into a toaster like the Plankton's Mr. Krabs robot. It sounds rather violent, but perhaps Mr. Wright does have a point there. Objection! Except that there was a body on the table where robots are dismantled and disassembled. Right, but we already know the arm was detached from the robot at that point, so it makes it sound like she was disassembled already. Oh yeah, in fact we know she was disassembled already because there's blood on the arm at the joint where it connects to the robot, so that could only get there if it was already off the robot when the blood sprayed everywhere. But then again, the blood spraying everywhere seems unusual into itself because, I could have sworn they said something like, oh right, yeah, they said blood was only found on the blade. I don't know if they're just saying it wasn't found in any other part of the sword, or they're saying we didn't find anywhere else in the room, because if so, that seems wrong. Unless they're saying this is someone else's blood. Anyway, let's just see what they ask us. Except that there was a body on the table where the robots are dismantled and assembled. There would have been no room to take the robot apart. Objection! But what if it wasn't done on the table? What if the katana was used instead? You mean the sword? Yes, Your Honor. Miss Blackwell, I'd like your opinion as a woman of science. Isn't it true that the katana could have been used to take the robot apart? I suppose so. The joints aren't made of a very tough material. A blade could slice through them, but there were bandages on it. Do we know that Metis was killed on the table? Anyway, well, there are a few ways this could go in our favor anyway. Let's just see what they ask us. I always gotta wait for that. Instead of just trying to think ahead, because I always get myself confused. Thank you for your expert opinion, Miss Blackwell. Thanks to you, we now know that the existence of the severed arm in this photo proves that PONcoooooo was taken apart. In addition, since the rest of PONcoooooo was not found at the scene, we can conclude that the true meaning of this photo is very different from the original interpretation. You can't mean... That's exactly what I mean. This photo does not capture the moment of the murder. It is instead a picture of the moment after the robot was sliced apart. The blood you see where the arm was cut off was transferred there by the bloody katana. Most likely the rest of PONcoooooo is scattered around Prosecutor Blackwell's feet. I'm not hearing this. Therefore, what was transported inside that case was not the defendant, but a robot. Miss Cykes was never there at the scene of the crime of the murder. Time of the crime of the... Ah! My head, my body, where am I? Ah! Order in the court! It's true that PONcoooooo was found in pieces after the murder. And I'll admit I repaired her myself afterwards. The photo shows Blackwell taking the robot apart. There's a blood stain on the end of the robot's arm. Although I did really just protect Blackwell and not... Well, no, I guess I protected them both. This takes some suspicion off of Blackwell and off Athena, because if the robot was in there, which was the suggested outcome, then Athena was never anywhere. Although they might just say Athena was in one of the other cases and was taken out way after. Yes, finally making some progress. Hopefully I've gotten at least one step closer to proving both Athena and Prosecutor Blackwell innocent. Objection! Well played, Mr. Wright. You made your point abundantly clear. I can see that it wasn't the defendant inside the rolling case, but the robot. Alright. What's going on here? It's never good when he plays things like this straight. Does the prosecution withdraw its claim that the defendant was carried from the scene? No, Your Honor. My claim hasn't changed. Objection! But PONcoooooo and Miss Cykes couldn't have both been inside the case. Objection! The notion that the case was used to carry Miss Cykes was Miss Blackwell's theory. I have been of a different opinion from the outset. I chose to hide it from now, just to be a contrarian dickhead, but what else is new? Now I finally have the opportunity to voice my theory. Now, fair enough, they're a hostage taker. You don't want to override them early on. Thanks to the defense. Edgeworth. He's been one step ahead of me this whole time. In that case, how do you propose the defendant left the crime scene? Simple. The footage only shows Prosecutor Blackwell from behind. What's more, he's holding his arm in front of his body, as if he were holding something or someone. I mean, he's a pretty trim dude, and Athena was a child. Also, if this is security footage, he would have walked from over here, and the top part of him would have been more visible, I would think. That's hardly evidence. I have proof. The surcoat Prosecutor Blackwell was wearing. The victim's blood was found on the front of it, and the stain had a highly distinctive shape. I wouldn't call that highly distinctive. A bloodstain with a distinctive shape. Please continue, Prosecutor Edgeworth. 7 years ago, the defendant was known to constantly wear a certain item, of which there is only one in the world, a special pair of headphones made just for her. She always wore these big, heavy-looking headphones. She said her mother made them for her as part of her research. Analysis showed the bloodstain to be in the exact same shape as these headphones. I guess I sort of see that right around here. In other words, this was no mere blood spatter. The blood went from the victim's body to the headphones and then was imprinted on Prosecutor Blackwell's coat like a stamp. A most gruesome stamp indeed! Blackwell carried Miss Cykes, who had been hit by splatter, away from the crime scene. This proves that Athena Cykes was, without question, present at the crime scene. And that concludes the prosecution's argument. Ah! I still find it doubtful that if we're saying she was killed on the operating table, that Athena could have held this, like, 4-foot katana above her head and, like, plunged it into Metis' heart. I mean, don't get me wrong, we know Athena's pretty strong, but just even with her height, it's just like you get that angle. Order! If the defendant was indeed at the scene, it take even suspicion against her. Objection! But we've also shown that the robot was there at the scene as well. Objection. I hope you're not making the ridiculous claim that a simple robot was the real murderer. I don't really think that, no, but you can't say the possibility isn't there. Detective Fulbright, was the robot questioned at the time? No, I don't see any record of it. I believe it was considered unrelated to the case. Well, and since then it could have had its memory wiped. But as it turned out, the robot was actually integrally related. Your Honor, the defense would like to call PONcoooooo to the stand. A robot witness? We've had a parrot and an orca, why not? In fact, haven't we had a robot before? Order! Order in the court! Prosecutor Edgeworth, what do you think about this? We had a woman who was very robot-like. Actually, I can't remember if she testified in the Glen Elg case. Mr. Wright has called all manner of witnesses to the stand over the years, so why not a robot? Nothing surprises me anymore with him. Thank you. Very well, I will allow the witness. Bailiff, please summon the robot named PONcoooooo. Such a silly looking robot. Witness, please state your name and occupation. My name is not the witness! My name is PONcoooooo! Yes, I realize that, but when you are at the witness stand, you are the witness. No, I'm not! I'm PONcoooooo! Say it with me! PONcoooooo! Utterly inflexible as a robot. You're the last person who should be calling anybody inflexible. You remind me of my grandchild who just learned his own name. Oh, how precious. Alright, PONcoooooo, I'm going to ask you some questions. Questions? You have questions? Hooray! What are your questions? I want to know if you were there at the scene of the murder of Mr. Cykes. It was 7 years ago on the 7th of October around 2 p.m. in the robotics lab. Certainly! Just one moment! Searching data! Search complete! Yes, I was there in the robotics lab! It would seem this robot's testimony is necessary to this case after all. This is great. I just knew PONcoooooo must have seen something important. A murder committed right before this poor little girl's eyes. It's inexcusable. The judge seems ready to adopt PONcoooooo as another grandchild. So, little PONcoooooo, do you think you can give us your testimony today? Would that you were so receptive to Athena's testimony back in the day. What I saw. I went to the robotics lab at about 2 p.m. for my regular recharge. Just as I was about to charge up, Athena came in and hugged Mommy Metis. Oh, she's Mommy alright. And then Mommy Metis fell down. After that, I was recharging, so I don't know anything. After I charged up, I was cleaning the room and Mr. Simon came in. And then an error occurred. There is no data after that point. Until when did you get reassembled? Well, it sounds like the defendant was without question at the scene. However, it doesn't appear that the witness saw the actual moment of the murder. I disagree. This testimony shows that the defendant did indeed commit the crime. What? At the end of the day, we mustn't forget that the witness is still a machine. Being a robot, its understanding and capacity to express itself are limited. So what are you suggesting? The witness's statements need to be interpreted. For example, the terms hugged and then later fell down. Adults don't usually fall down after being hugged by a child. They don't, but... Yes, what this witness's statements are telling us is... that the defendant stabbed the victim with the murder weapon during this moment. What?! I mean, I don't know how you could have interpreted that any other way. Before Miss Cykes hugged Dr. Cykes, did the two of them converse? Yes, they did! They spoke to each other very loudly, but I don't know what they said. Athena's usually so quiet, so I was surprised. Spoke very loudly. We can interpret this to mean they argued. That's pushing it a bit. Parents and children talk loudly all the time when they're happy. I see, murder after heated argument, and then the victim fell down. Hugged and fell down, sure. That said, though, if Athena genuinely did hug her at that point and then Metis was killed, that would explain the massive trauma owing to, leading to black, psyche locks on her. Because that would be pretty horrible if she was killed at that moment, precisely when Athena touched her. I agree that it does sound like a reasonable interpretation. However, PONcoooooo doesn't seem to remember anything that happened after that. When I am recharging, I go into sleep mode. But I remember everything before that. I have a very good memory. You may as well admit defeat now, right? A cross-examination would be useless. No? Don't be ridiculous! A cross-examination is never useless. Until now. Think about it. Robots don't lie. But you said yourself they interpret things differently than us. So who knows how many of the other words in that testimony were things that we gloss over as them being right, and they actually were just saying it weirdly. This robot is both an important witness and valuable evidence at the same time. Nevertheless, I will have my cross-examination. I see you haven't changed. You never were one to worry about wasting time. Very well, even if it may be a waste of time, you may proceed, Miss Wright. I'll show you both just how fruitful any cross-examination can be. Nothing stuck out to me as incredibly, astonishingly wrong there, though, so I want to hear what Phoenix has to say about it, probably. So I went to the robotics lab at about 2 p.m. for my regular recharge. I got a not hit percent, I just want to look at this. Do we have a guess about when the victim... Between 1 and 3 p.m., okay, fair enough. So what we're saying is there's a chance Metis was already dead, and then Athena went to hug her, and then, like, she was, like, held up by something, and then collapsed when Athena moved her. And that would explain when the blood got onto Athena's headphones. If it looks like I should notice some... Oh. These were taken by the first person to discover the body, but we don't know when they were taken exactly. If we had any way of knowing, then we could verify if PONcoooooo was charged... Oh, no, right, because we said that PONcoooooo was disassembled after that. Never, so that's a moot point. Okay, went to the robotics lab at about 2 p.m. for my regular recharge. Just as I was about to charge up, Athena came in and hugged Mommy Metis. And then Mommy Metis fell down, and after that I was recharging, so I don't know anything. Hold on, so you saw someone, an adult, fall down, and you're like an assistance robot, and you just went, nah, time to recharge. That doesn't seem right. After I charged up, I was cleaning the room, and Mr. Simon came in. Oh. So how long did you charge for it? I would have thought it would be slower than that. And then an error occurred that's noted after the point. What do you think of Phoenix? There are a few parts of PONcoooooo Sesame that are hard to interpret. Ezra chose to interpret hugged as stabbed. But I better try to iron out who did what, where, and to whom for myself. Hold on a second, I'm going to save you. Screw it, push on everything. Hold it! Your regular recharge. What is that exactly? I have to refill my battery's power or else I stop working. I go to the lab to do that. So that recharge occurred around 2 p.m. around the time of the murder. That's right! I go every day at 2 p.m. What time is it now? Every day at 2 p.m. When did all this stuff with Starbuck happen? Didn't Clay die at a similar time? I don't have his autopsy anymore. Just as I was about to charge up, Athena came in and hugged my Metis. Hold it! How mommy was she precisely? Hugged her, huh? Which Edward took to mean stabbed her with a weapon. You said the two of them were talking before Miss Cykes hugged her mother, is that right? Yes, they were talking very loudly, but I couldn't tell what they were saying. Couldn't tell? Oh, were they screaming? Even though they were speaking so loudly. Were the words ah? Or like wah? I'm only allowed to listen to voices that are directed at me. If you listened to every voice, it would be a little better than a mobile eavesdropper. I guess fair enough, but... Well, that explains why some of PONcooooo's testimony is so vague. It's a shame that our little friend wasn't listening in, however. We could have learned what they were talking about just before Dr. Cykes was killed. Now then, what happened after that? And then my Metis fell down after that I was recharging, so I don't know anything. Hold it! Let me stop you at every sentence and question something. I don't want to delve too deeply here, but... Could you tell us how the victim appeared and acted at this moment? Mommy Metis was very surprised when she was hugged. I heard her heart pound! Ah! Her heart? Mr. Wright, have you forgotten about this document we found in the robotics lab? These robots have a heartbeat detection system. Now that he mentions it, I do remember reading something like that here. They detect the presence of people by the sound of their heartbeats. Now, they said that the sword to the heart was instantaneous. I don't know enough about biology to know if a heart would beat at all after that. But I guess even if it did beat, it wouldn't make the same sound because it wouldn't really be working right with a sword in it, right? Like, I'm assuming the nerves would still have energy in them to, like, do the motion, but it would be kind of, like, half-baked, and it wouldn't, and because there's a hole in it now, most of the blood would be pumped out of it and not to the rest of the body, so it wouldn't make the same bump noise, I wouldn't think. So there's something to consider. They detect the presence of people by the sound of their heartbeats. But, wait a minute, that means if Dr. Cykes really did die at this moment... PONcoooooo, how was Dr. Cykes after she fell down? Could you still hear the sound of her heartbeat? Let's see! The moment she fell, her heart was pounding! After that, I don't know! I started recharging just then! Of all the unlucky timing, if you'd heard anything after that, it could have possibly proved that the hug wasn't actually the moment of the murder. I'm very sorry! I'm afraid I don't know! I'm very sorry! The robot is designed to go into sleep mode automatically, so it can't be helped. But it does appear that it detected an increased heart rate at the moment of the stabbing. After Mommy Metis's heart started pounding in surprise, she fell by the window. It was the round window on the workbench side of the room. The workbench, huh? But that's not where we found the body. So she was moved, which leads to a lot of other questions. The round window by the workbench? What, so this one? Or which workbench are we workbenching here? Because this is a cart, not a workbench. Oh, you mean like the computer desk? This one? There's no round window here. There's a square window. Well, it's rounded on edges, I suppose. But these are where the round windows are, so they must mean this by the workbench. But that's not a workbench because it's a display stand shelf. Workbench, huh? PONcoooooo must be talking about that table to the right of where that giant robot is now. Oh, that's okay. It's not in any of the pictures. Oh, no, it's sort of in... You can see just, like, the butt end of it on this one here. Oh, did I ever read this? The Moonwalker Stone in the Hope Castle can be seen on the workbench. There are rolling cases for moving equipment, a robot charging station, a toolkit on the floor. There's a hanging scroll and a Japanese theater mask on the wall. Anyway, is there something critical in PONcooooooo's statement just now? I'm pretty sure, because if... We were earlier thinking that Metis was found here, and if Metis was actually killed over there, then that opens the possibility of this disassembly robot being used for something else, or well, among other things, and begs questions as to why the sword was planted here and the coat here. Like, this seems very much more organized when you consider all that. It also bears asking why there's no blood anywhere else here. I don't see my health bar here anyway, so I'm pretty sure there's something important about that. Your Honor, I believe this statement is critical. I'd like it added to her testimony. Very well. PONcoooooo, could you please add that statement to your testimony? That's a good little girl. She's not a dog, Your Honor. My mouse fell down near the round window on the workbench side of the room. I guess I could present the photograph there? Like, it doesn't seem outlandish to me that she was moved. This is one of those weird things where, yes, the picture contradicts that because she's over here, but her statement doesn't contradict the possibility of her being moved. So I don't necessarily feel safe doing this. Let me just push on these 3 points, and then if it doesn't yield anything else, I'll put the photograph there. Hold it! Let's see. There are 2 round windows in the robotics lab. Which one did you mean? The one on the right, near the hanging scroll. That hanging scroll was Mommy Metis's prized possession! Okay, in the pictures of the crime scene from 7 years ago, there is definitely a hanging scroll and a Japanese theater mask hanging on the workbench side wall. But is there some problem with this statement? I mean, he does really seem to be calling attention to it, like that's the one we gotta be worrying about. But I'm just gonna push on these 2 as well. Just in case there's another, would you like this added to your statement? To her statement, Mr. Wright? After you're to clean the room, Mr. Simon came in. Hold it! Prosecutor Blackwell. I wonder what he went there for. His objective? I don't know! I guess I can't very well ask PONcoooooo to speculate. So what happened after Prosecutor Blackwell arrived? And then an error occurred. There's no date after that. Okay, we're not gonna find anything there. My mess fell down in the round window. Unlikely she was over here. Objection! Oh, thank goodness. I'm so tense about making mistakes now. PONcoooooo, your statement may have just inspired a breakthrough. I was helpful? Hooray! I'm so happy! Just to be sure, let's go over it again, okay? The victim fell near the window on the workbench side of the room. However, her body was discovered on the operating table. What? The operating table and the workbench are 2 different locations? Well observed, Your Honor. Exactly, Your Honor. We've just learned a new crucial fact. What could explain the 2 very different locations of the body? I'll tell you what. The defendant moved the body, the victim moved. Oh, God. Oh, the defendant moved the body, not likely, because the defendant is Athena. I thought he was saying Blackwell, and I was like, maybe. The victim moved, i.e. she wasn't dead when Athena hugged her over there. Athena's pretty strong now. I'm not sure she was strong enough to pick up and throw an entire human then. If that turns out to be the plot point, though, it's like, we know Athena can throw people 30 feet, and that way we were supposed to remember that from that first cutscene. And that's going to play in this case. That would be hilarious. But I'm pretty sure we're getting at the victim moved here. If Athena moved the body, it would incriminate her more, if anything. The victim moved, i.e. was still alive. An 11-year-old girl couldn't have moved a heavy body of an adult, so the only explanation is that the victim walked to the operating table herself. In other words, what PONcoooooo observed near the workbench couldn't possibly have been the moment of the murder. And because we know she was killed instantly, so if Athena had stabbed her over there, she wouldn't have been able to walk all the way over there. Whew, I'm very relieved to hear that. Glad to know that the murder wasn't committed in front of little PONcoooooo here. Yes, as we just heard in the testimony, Miss Cykes hugged her mother, nothing more. Objection! Objection! Right. It's been 8 years, but you're still just as green as ever. Green? But I can't recall ever seeing Mr. Wright in anything but a blue suit. It was my favorite color, what can I say? If the defendant couldn't move the body herself, she could have had it moved for her. But Miss Cykes and Dr. Cykes were the only ones there. I agree. Since this robot is equipped with a heartbeat detection system, it would have been aware of another person's presence if someone else had been there. We can therefore conclude that the defendant and the victim were the only ones present. Then who do you suggest moved the body? Don't you know it's in the nature of a robot to help people to do things? Miss PONcoooooo, allow me to ask you a question. My name is Ponko! Say it with me, Ponko! I believe you said you were cleaning after Dr. Cykes fell down. Did you happen to move something large onto the operating table? Oh, she wouldn't register as a person if she weren't wearing the coat and had no heartbeat. Yes! Yes, I did! Athena asked me to! Athena asked you to? And what did you move, little Ponko? I don't know! Unless something has an ID tag, I can't tell what it is! Except for all that stuff you were teaching us about in the museum, but... An ID tag, you say? Yes, a tag with a barcode on it! We robots scan... Oh, right, but the sword thing has the slash in it, so we can... And we know it must have been moved, because there's no way it got all the way over to this side of the room from where she was hugging Athena. Then it still feels odd to me that the slash is in the jacket's, like, side. Not right through the heart. I mean, I guess you could stab up through the heart at an angle like that, but you'd think the blood stains would be different, and this slash would be different in that case. Anyway, yes, a tag with a barcode on it! We robots scan them to tell us what a thing is! That paper in the lab did mention something about that. Recognizes people by scanning their spacesuit or uniform jacket ID tag. Recognizes people by scanning their spacesuit or uniform jacket ID tag, it said. So it would appear that Miss PONcoooooo here can't identify what it moved. My name is Ponko! But we humans have the power to imagine what it was, do we not? We do? Well, I do at the very least. Miss PONcoooooo, on the defendant's command, move the body onto the operating table. Ah! PONcoooooo, did you really move Dr. Cykes' body? This is really important. Isn't there any way you could tell? I don't know. Without an ID tag, I can't tell. Give it up, Wright. If the victim's heart was stopped, the robot's detection system would be useless. Furthermore, Dr. Cykes usually wore her white coat while she was working. But we know the other jacket was on scene. She kept the jacket with her ID tag on it draped over a chair in the robotics lab, and only wore it for special occasions. Like hugging her daughter, maybe? In other words, the victim wasn't wearing her ID tag at the time. From the robot's point of view, her body was simply just another object. Objection! But PONcoooooo was equipped with a facial recognition system. If she really did move the victim, she would have recognized the body as Dr. Cykes. But she didn't, so that means... Objection! A face can easily be covered with a piece of cloth or mask, or anything else for that matter. With the facial features hidden, the robot wouldn't be able to tell it was Dr. Cykes. You've got a point there. There is a big old napkin and a jacket over here. But then wouldn't you assume that there would be blood elsewhere on PONcooooo's arm, not just at the base here? If she had moved it? I'm not sure. He's right. To summarize, Miss Cykes stabbed her mother near the workbench, then using the robot, she moved the body to the table where she removed the sword and was stained in blood. Order! But if that's the case, then I have a question. Why did the defendant move the body to the operating table in the first place? You want reasons. Very well. What? You can't possibly have an explanation. Your emotions blind you to the truth. You could learn a lot from our robot friends. Calm and rational thought will open your eyes to the truth in front of you, Mr. Wright. I'm not sure PONcoooooo is the textbook example of calm and rational thought. Now then, do you remember the operating table's one special feature? I believe I read that the robots can be assembled and disassembled there, isn't that right? That's right. And to the defendant, who was just a child at the time, the table was like a magic box that could make robots appear or disappear in seconds. In the end, my mom just put her on the operating table and fixed her in a flash. How it sounds best about what my mom did. I even asked her if she would put me on the table and fix me if I ever got hurt. It looks just like magic to me what she could do. You can't possibly be suggesting... This young, sheltered girl had a difficult time distinguishing robots from people. But take a look at PONcoooooo's arm. It was Miss Cykes who bandaged it up that like. What? Oh, sorry, that was Phoenix. But take a look at PONcoooooo's arm. It was Miss Cykes who bandaged it up that like. She must have had... already, you know, this stuff. No way. I refuse to believe it. Miss Cykes made a childish, naive, and cruel mistake. She thought that if a robot could be dismantled and vanish without a trace...
Prosecutor Edgeworth, if you're about to claim what I think you are, I demand that you word it as delicately as you can.
With all due respect, Your Honor, all I can do is present the truth as it stands. The reason the defendant moved the victim's body to the operating table...
Hold it!
No! Don't say another word. Just stop. Was to dismantle the evidence so that she could get away with her crime. That can't be. True! I'm not sure that's like leaps and bounds more disturbing than her stabbing her mother in the guise of a hug. It's disturbing for sure. Order! Order to the court! Order to the court, I say! Edgeworth, she was just a little kid. How can you say such a horrible thing? Horrible? Like I said, you're just as green as ever. I came here today as a prosecutor to seek only the truth. No more, no less. My theory is simply the result of a rational consideration of every possibility. Objection! But dismantling isn't the table's only function. It can make repairs as well. It's conceivable that Miss Cykes moved her to the mother to the table in order to fix her. I suppose that could be another way of interpreting it. But dismantling or repair, it doesn't matter either way. What do you mean? After murdering her mother, Miss Cykes may have come to her senses. Perhaps she did want to make it appear as if it had never happened. And that's why she tried to repair her mother. Yes, that's one possible explanation. But we mustn't forget the facts of this case. The victim was observed to fall down after being hugged by the defendant, and the body was moved per the defendant's command. These two facts that indicate the defendant's guilt, remain unchanged. This just can't be true. Mr. Wright, do you have any evidence to refute the prosecution's claim? Evidence? Right. Let's see. I can't think of any. I'm afraid I don't have any evidence. Since becoming chief prosecutor, I've learned that the truth isn't always pretty. Now accept the truth, Mr. Wright. Your subordinate murdered her own mother. Your Honor, the prosecution demands a verdict. The hostages have suffered enough. What a terrible and tragic conclusion. If the defense has no counter-argument, I see no need to further prolong this trial. This argument seems solid enough. But... I want to see if I can figure out what Phoenix is going to figure out before he figures it out. If you're saying that Athena's actions really were to dismantle the evidence, there's no way she would have brought the coat over here. And we still haven't explained the slash in the side of the coat for another thing. We don't have the lighter anymore. We really brought that up and then we're just like, forget it. Who cares? Weird that we're just saying she witnessed the murder 7 years ago and we don't know that for a fact. There's no way Athena could have ever done anything like that. Right, you. There has to be something. But I can't think of a single thing. Objection. Objection! Prosecutor Blackwell! This is quite the farce you're conducting here. I could die from laughter. Why are you allowed to be here? I'm glad, but why? Prosecutor Blackwell, what are you talking about? What I'm talking about is that your argument is based entirely on a false premise. Go on, we're listening. Could this be the miracle I need? What is Prosecutor Blackwell trying to pull here? He's gonna find some way to indict himself here, but at least postpone Athena's verdict for a moment. 7 years. For 7 long years. This case has been on my mind. Not for an instant did I not think of it. I'm the one who killed my mentor, and don't think you can alter that fact now. Your boldness, I will take to the stand, and I won't take no for an answer. Oh, of course, Prosecutor Blackwell. Please go ahead. Thank you, Blackwell! You're a legend. You're a straight-up legend. 7 years ago, I went to the Cosmos Space Center with the intention of killing Dr. Cykes, but when I got to the robotics lab, I found Athena there instead. I would not be swayed from my purpose, so I waited for Dr. Cykes to return. And then I committed the act. Oh, cathartic it was. But little Ponko here witnessed the victim falling. In other words, objection! I don't need any of your other words, old man. I can guess what happened. Which would be? She fell means she fell. Merely that. A mother and child fooling around. Perhaps she tripped. Not that it matters. When I entered the lab, there was no trace of Dr. Cykes to be seen. There was no dead body either, of course, meaning she must have left the room. So the murder occurred after the time period PONcoooooo described in her testimony. You should hardly take stock in the words of a wind-up toy. Objection! Then how do you explain the fact that the defendant had the robot had moved something? Athena was always tinkering with robots on the operating table to amuse herself, and she always had PONcoooooo move the heavy ones for her. That day was no different. PONcoooooo moved a heavy robot for Athena. PONcoooooo then. Or maybe one of the other ones, but those are the only two we know of, really. This is awful. What he's saying seems to make sense, and yet... Objection! Prosecutor Blackwell, are you trying even now to turn away from the truth? Don't you realize we could bring the dark age of the law to a close today? Objection! You expect too much from me. I'm just a murderer beyond redemption. Why don't you just let me go so I can settle down into hell? Prosecutor Blackwell's execution is tomorrow. If the truth doesn't come out now, it's all over. Are you saying that the little girl or the robot had nothing to do with the murder? That's right. So let's hear your verdict. If we don't hurry, I might miss the ferry across the Styx. I mean, I'm pretty sure it comes back. They have a lot of souls to move. Hold it! Don't you dare, Judge. Don't forget I have hostages over here. And Simon, how long are you going to cover for her? Miss Blackwell. Forgive me, Aura. I never wanted you to do anything like this for me. But you agreed to this trial. If you have a counter-argument, then present your evidence. That's the rule of the courtroom. Isn't that right, Chief Prosecutor? Blackwell is selfish.
Well, to be frank, I don't like this, but it's my duty to make a decision. If no one has a counter-argument, I will announce my verdict.
Is this really happening? Is it really going to end just like it did 7 years ago? I wanted to do it so bad. Even now, I want to fly out of here and go save him. No, I can't tell her. How can I lie to Athena? If I can't prove Prosecutor Blackwell's innocence in this trial, I don't think Athena will ever forgive me.
Panic! Panic! It's panicking the evidence! What if I panic? Will that prove his innocence? What if I flail my arms around like this? Will it distract him long enough that Blackwell can run away?
I can't let this happen. But I just don't have the evidence to counter Prosecutor Blackwell's testimony.
At least cross-examine him! What are you doing?
Push him on something. Hold it.
Hold it!
Athena! What are you... Are you feeling okay? He's got discord in his heart! I can hear it. I can hear the voice of his heart. He's hiding something. If he really is, I could sure use Athena's help here. Are you allowed to be at the defense stand when you're the defendant? Alright, it's a dumb trial, so we can do whatever we want. Her power might just be the thing to get us through this. Objection! Cykes, don't know. No need for you to chime in here, just accept that you're innocent.
Objection!
These past 7 years, they've been just as hard on me, you know. What are you talking about? Do you remember that horrible, horrible trial?
Please, you have to listen to me. He didn't kill her. His heart is screaming that he didn't kill her.
Even now, every time I stand in a courtroom, it comes back to haunt me. Not being heard, no matter how hard you try. Feeling so helpless. Caught in people's stares, so scared that it feels like your chest is in a vice. I'm terrified of courtrooms. I want to run out of that door even now. And yet, you found a way to keep your fears at bay and become a lawyer. Kind of like Batman.
Thanks. That's because one day I came to realize that I had to fight. I couldn't give up. I exercised hard and I studied hard. I wanted to become the strongest lawyer I could be. This day has finally come. The day I've been looking forward to with all my heart. This is why I became a lawyer. This is why I studied psychology. It was all to save you from this false self-conviction.
But, Miss Cykes, do you realize what it would mean? You are the accused, after all. If you prove Prosecutor Blackwell innocent, then
The only thing that matters is the truth. It's my duty to find out what that truth is. Simon, please give me this chance. The chance to shake off this fear that's been with me for 7 years and to face the truth. Athena's being so brave confronting her past like this. This might really be the last chance to save them both. Prosecutor Blackwell, please testify one more time about the incident 7 years ago.
Fine. But your efforts will surely be in vain. For I'm not a man who can be cut down easily.
Here we go, Simon. Let me hear the voice of your heart. Beep, boop, ding. Beep, boop, whoomp.
Let's do this!
I'm so ready.
Simon! Your guilty days are over! Say goodbye to them!
We're gonna figure this out. Once the unexpected emotion, I went to the Cosmos Space Center with the intention of killing Dr. Cykes. Well, that we would be expected to be pretty angry at that point. But when I got to the robotics lab, I found Athena there instead. Happy, I suppose. Makes some sense because you like Athena, but you wouldn't be happy to see her there if your intention was murder. I would not be swayed from my purpose, so I waited for Dr. Cykes to return. And then I committed the act. Ah, how cathartic it was. Right, because you and Athena were supposed to be close. I don't know why there's something really funny to me about Athena's featureless face over here, just standing over there. Like, it looks like she was so surprised that her eyes went really small or something. But when I went to the robotics lab, I found Athena there and said, maybe happy is a little weird there, but the real weird thing is that it explodes over here. I guess if he's saying it's cathartic, even though we're pretty sure that's a lie, that would be happy, but it's weird that the anger would be all gone then. So I'm saying it's either that happiness explodes when he says I would not be swayed, or it's that there's no anger when he's doing the murder. But let's see what they have to say, so I can try and get this in as few tries as possible. His emotions are very guarded and his defenses are way up. He's sealed his will as if he'll never let his secrets be known. I don't know about that. Got a couple of strong wills on our side too. Prosecutor Blackwell isn't the killer and we're going to prove it. But what was he trying to do that day? If you approach it from that angle, I bet we can find an emotion that just doesn't add up. Right, because we don't think he was there to kill Metis. Oh, well... surely you would be surprised to find Athena there, right? You even say it, I found Athena there instead. Like, whoa, that's weird. Got it! Nope, didn't got it. Right, so let me try one of my other ones. Why do your happenings explode? No, that's normal. The happenings should explode when Athena... right after that. Why was there no anger when you're killing? Damn it. At least there's no health for this. I mean, I guess these ones can be a little more inscrutable sometimes, so I guess that's why they don't ever take your health away for these. Emotions are a very subjective and complex thing. Maybe it's that the little happy when you first see Athena? Oh, okay. Isn't that normal that he would be happy to see a friend? Even if, it wasn't what he was doing there to do? This feeling of happiness. Even though the person you were looking for wasn't there, you felt happy. Why is that? Because he's friends with Athena. Sybil, when I was looking for Athena and hadn't found her yet, I grew worried. What? Excuse me? So when I saw her in the robotics lab, I was happily relieved. Merely that. That's not what you said a moment ago. That's not... Just now you said that you went to the Space Center to kill Dr. Cykes, but the first thing you did was look for her daughter instead? I had no intention of harming Athena, so I wanted to confirm that she was safe first. It was just a part of my plan. Nothing contradictory about that. The second I find inconsistency, he cuts it down. I don't know, that seemed to be a slip of the tongue to me. Simon knows the principles of analytical psychology. There's less noise now, but I don't see any instabilities we can latch onto. I was afraid of that. We'll just have to keep chipping away at him then, bit by bit. Could you update his testimony, Athena? You got it, boss! It's been a while since I heard that. That's very relieving. I feel so much safer now. Info update! Let's see this. Or... when I found Athena in the robotics lab, I was relieved, but I would not be swayed from my purpose. Hang on, sorry, it's all changed all of a sudden. I would not be swayed from my purpose, so I waited for Dr. Cykes to return, and then when she did, I plunged the katana in. Ah, okay, so now that we broke away that part, that he cared about Athena, and he sort of let on about that a bit more, and his actual emotion of this part showed through a bit more. Got it! Not even you can falsify your emotions, Prosecutor Blackwell. What? When you said that you killed Dr. Cykes in your testimony, you felt sadness. Why would someone who had laid in wait to kill her be sad at her death? Such an obvious attack. Yes, I felt sadness, but it wasn't for her. I felt sorrow for Athena and her circumstances. He can't be talking about that, can he? I was just a convenient subject for her research. Dr. Cykes was so intent on her research, she forced her daughter to undergo experiments. My objective was to save Athena from an obsessive scientist who treated her own daughter like a research subject.
What?
I went to the psychology lab first. That's where I would usually find Athena playing, but the happiness disappeared. No. Your catharsis disappeared, so that's poppycock. I went to the psychology lab first. That's where I would usually find Athena playing. But that day was different. I heard someone crying in the robotics lab next door. Was Athena being subjected to yet another experiment, I thought, as I went to see. Conveniently, Athena had cried herself to sleep, and so all he had to do was wait and kill. So that's why he was relieved when he saw Athena. But is this story really true? I'm not sure how much to believe.
Mr. Wright?
How are you doing, Athena? Still hanging in there?
I'm a lot stronger than I look, boss.
And you look pretty strong. I mean, you threw the dude like 30 feet. I don't mean to keep bringing it up, but...
Now take a look at this. The noise level actually increased.
What an unusual development that we'll be getting into next time on Ace Attorney Dual Destinies. But we made some good progress here. Still haven't flubbed any of these super hard yet, but it's very, like, there have been one or two contradictions where it's like, okay, yeah, that one's a bit obvious, but some of them have been a bit more, we had to really pry in and get in there. So it's still a bit complex, this trial. There's a lot of elements that we've not interfaced with yet. The thing that's bugging me the most is the coat, with the slash on the side of it when she was supposedly killed with a strike straight to the heart, which is like, you know, up around here, right? More like. Second button, probably. So you'd think the stab wound would be over here and there wouldn't really be any markings on the coat. Not to mention no blood stains on it. Anyway, but that's all for now! Okay, but we are tearing along this. We're moving slower than we have in some other trials, but we're not dead in the water by any means. Next week on the show is going to be some Legends of Tears of the Kingdom, though, and I'm eager to record the next episode of this, so I'm going to leave you. I'm going to leave right now. Thank you so very much for coming around. Hopefully I'll see you around. Admiral's going to be out of here now. Peace!
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Everyone can be treated now, but we've used up all the splash fruit.
There were more injuries than anticipated. Please accept my apology.
You have nothing to apologize for. You did what had to be done. Most importantly, I'm grateful that